A lot of the films that are sort of independently made, the festival route is a very important place to get the industry to notice a film. As I was mentioning, like, there were people from, I think, more than 19 nationalities who came to put together this film, and a lot of us are immigrants.
Hi, I'm Meenakshi Shedde. I'm here at the Toronto International Film Festival on its 50th anniversary. I'm here with Shrihari Sathe, who is an American-Indian producer, director. And he has a fantastic new film here called Nomad Shadow in the very prestigious Centerpiece section. And tell us a little about the film and what your feelings are on making it to TIFF this year.
The film, as Meenakshi said, is Nomad Shadow. It's by a writer-director named Amy Imanishi, who is Japanese-American. And the film's entirely in Arabic, set in Western Sahara. It is about a young woman who gets deported from Spain back to Western Sahara, her home country, and who feels out of place because she has come back home with westernized values, whereas now she's a foreigner in her own country. So it's about her trying to find a place in her home country and coming to sort of odds with who she was before she left.
It's a fantastic film. It it had a screening now. And so Shrihari has a very, very interesting body of work. So he's originally from Bombay and moved to New York a long time back. And he has, he directed a film, Ek Hazarachi Note, in Marathi, 2014 or so, about like 11 years back. And then he's had a huge body of work as an international producer. And he pulled off this film is just some extraordinary collaboration in terms of sources of funding, but he's a master at it now. But some of his films also include The Cow Who Sang a Song into the Future by Francesca Allegria from Chile, which won the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance. There was Dukhtar by Afia Nathaniel, who is American-Pakistani. And then he also produced her latest short, which is Don't Be Late, Myra. Very, very sensitive film on a very sensitive issue. And Stay Awake by James Sisley, like directors worldwide. And Mafak, which is Screwdriver, also made in the Middle East. So it's a very diverse body of work. Very few Indian origin people, he's American now, have that kind of profile. It's very unique. Tell us a little about your journey and how you arrived at this point.
I went to the U.S. to go to college at University of Michigan and then went to grad school at Columbia University. And that really, like, being in these places really introduced me to the sort of world cinema and to cinemas of a lot of different countries. And it really got me interested into sort of finding the commonality of finding human stories that tend to be universal because they are so specific to the setting of where they are placed, but the underlying story or the human emotions are very universal. And that's where I kind of found meaning into the kind of content or the films that I wanted to make. A lot of the films that are sort of independently made, the festival route is a very important place to get the industry to notice a film. But with Nomad Shadow, the film is a U.S., Spain, France co-production. Yeah. And we had, I think our cast and crew members were maybe 19 nationalities.
And a majority women.
And majority women.
Like, I can't remember the names of cinematographer, editor, I think except sound, like a whole host of women, including the director, of course. So how did you come on board first with this Japanese American set in Sahara? Like, it's
I mean it's
a
pretty unique project. Yeah. I was introduced to Amy through a German producer, a mutual friend.
Okay.
And I met Amy, and I was again kind of fascinated why does a Japanese American person want to tell a story that is set in Western Sahara? And the more I got to know Amy and the inspiration for the story, she was married to a Sahrawi man for a long time, and she spent a lot of time there. And it was sort of the seed of the story that these are people who are not really well known outside, and the struggles of the Sahrawi people are not very well known. So she was like, I need to tell this story. And it took Amy about 10 years. I joined the project in 2018 to kind of get it together and then raising the funding and putting all the team together. Yeah. And the movie was filmed in Algeria, Spain, Western Sahara, and Morocco over the course of last year. And then we are premiering at TIFF, which is an amazing festival. I've had a few films here before. It is one of the best audiences that a filmmaker could ask for. And I was really happy to be in the screening today and experience it with a large audience.
Lovely. Tell me what it means in terms of, because you've had films earlier as well, TIFF is traditionally seen as a gateway to the all-important North American market and a potential for potential campaigns for the Oscar, Golden Globes, BAFTAs, etc. Is that anywhere on your radar as a strategy, or is it part of a festival route that you would just each film organically has? But does TIFF mean something special for your film?
I mean, in terms of kind of a launching pad with a lot of the films that are sort of independently made, the festival route is a very important place to get the industry to notice a film, or the general public to also notice a film.
Yeah.
So film festivals are a pretty important part of a lot of the work that I do. And TIFF is a fantastic festival, and I've had films here before. And I had The Sweet Requiem with Ritu and Tenzing, and Mafak, which was by Bassam Jerbawi, and then Dukhtar by Afia.
Yeah.
So in the last 10 years, I've had, I would say, this is my fourth feature here.
Fantastic.
And I love coming here with a film because I know the audience really embraces the film despite whatever culture they might be from or whatever culture the film might be from.
Yeah.
People always come here with to watch movies with a very open mind, and that's one of the reasons I love bringing films to Toronto.
Wonderful. I just came away from the morning screening of this film, and I'm not sure if I have the name right, but the lead actress, I think it's Nadira Mohammed. Mm-hmm. She's fantastic, but I had the feeling that probably quite a lot of the team were fairly new in filmmaking. Mm-hmm. I mean, very short careers, clearly very good, but clearly gifted, no question. But they didn't have like a huge CV behind. So it struck me there was a lot of trust, of trusting that somebody would deliver. And she's fantastic. And as he said, I think, so she's completely, from being in Spain for a while, I think she was in marketing, she said, and then she's deported back suddenly and comes back to this very traditional family where there's no dad, it's a single mother and a brother and sister who are very, very conservative and want her to cook and clean, and which she does actually a little bit. But she just can't go back to being her old self. And this is really a culture clash. As he said so eloquently, to who she was earlier and who she's now. Does putting a project together like this, where you're one of the key producers, does it get easier for you in the game when you know people and they know your work and you're a familiar thing, or it's really starting from zero each time? And how is the producing game moving these days?
Yeah, I mean, it's every film is like a startup business, but with some amount of experience, you're not really starting at zero.
Yeah.
Instead of starting at 0, you're starting at like 20 to get to 100.
Okay.
But you really have to put the team together in a very particular way, as well as the financing together. And something like this is, again, it's a first-time filmmaker with a lot of non-professional actors or first-time performers. Yeah. So it was a little bit challenging to put the funding together, but we were able to find some amazing partners, supporting organizations. Amy did the Sundance Institute Writing and Directing Labs, the Film Independent Directing Lab.
Yeah.
With this film, we have a lot of supporters. In Spain, we have the public funding through the Spanish institutions, as well as a lot of independent financiers from the U.S. and other countries as well. And as I was mentioning, like, there were people from, I think, more than 19 nationalities who came to put together this film. And a lot of us are immigrants from one place to another place. And so the story really resonated. Because a lot of times in the media, we see films about someone making the journey from one country to another, but very rarely we see what happens to these people who are deported back. What happens to them? And that was one of the reasons that I felt very compelled to bring this story to life.
Yeah, no, it's really fantastic. I like also the tech credits, the cinematography, the music, and also I mean, it's kind of an ensemble cast, but also the character of Sid Ahmed, for example. I guess he's African. I don't know which country he's from. Small roles, but they really stand out. Yeah. And just give us a very rough idea, because we don't really have a very strong, or at least I don't have a very strong sense of what producing literally means. So give us an example of, because your work has been so diverse. So say one of the most challenging projects that you put together, which really took a long time, but you believed in it and, you just struggle on with it. And what kind of strategies do you use to make life easier for yourself as a producer? Because I noticed that you take a lot of risks with the people you back. A lot of them are women, which is fantastic. Or a lot of his work is independent cinema and women directors, which is so he's really a champion that we need. What kind of basic strategies do you? Is it like somebody else I spoke to, Sheila Aditya Bora? He said he always does a feasibility report, and is like the first round is most cynical. If I don't get anything, what is the absolute bare minimum I can get away with? He starts from there, so then everything is like a bonus. That is his strategy. But you probably have very different ways of looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, my outlook is basically, is this a story I've seen before in a film, in the form of a film? If it is this filmmaker coming at it from a very different perspective or putting their own kind of take on the material? So for me, that is kind of the starting point, the impetus of me becoming interested in a project. And I think from a producerial perspective, I think it is really important to surround yourself with people who believe in a similar goal of bringing a story out into the world, be it financiers, be it crew members, cast members. We are all trying to work towards a collective goal. So I always try to surround myself and the director and the team with people who have a very common ideology in trying to get a story out.
Sure. Do you often get involved in, other than the financing and the money part of it? Do you often get involved in a very hands-on way if the director requests, or depending on the situation, with technical, because your contacts are so wide now because of your very diverse body of work? Like literally in most parts of the world, you would have connections with people who respect you a lot or love you or have already collaborated with you. So do you get involved a lot in the, putting together also, for example, the crew team, for example?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the kind of part of the job is holistic producing. Is so depending on the project and if I'm the lead producer or not.
Yeah.
There on this project, I'm one of the lead producers,
Yes,
and
Nomad Shadow.
the goal is to develop the project with the writer or the writer director, and then start building the team on board, which have complementary skill sets. So I have producing partners who do certain things better than me. I do certain things better than them. So we are always trying to fill the gaps to, again, make sure that the project is supported in the best way it can be.
Yeah, lovely. Also, a film like Duktar, for example, which was Daughter by Afia Nathaniel a long time back, but set in Pakistan, talking about a very conservative culture, which is common to all of South Asia and maybe much of the world, where there is a real pressure on a woman who is a single mother who has a daughter, and there's pressure to get her married off to a really old guy. So it's commenting on child marriage, poverty, misogyny, patriarchy, which is really, really very common in South Asia and worldwide. So, do you have concerns genuinely about whether a film like this, if it's released in the home country or elsewhere, might get the people who were associated with the film or the cast or director into trouble in a way? Or how do you manage things like that, which you can't really predict, but you have a sense of, like, okay, in the US and film festivals, it's a different circuit. But it's the dream of a lot of filmmakers that, oh, my film should be released at least in my home country. I want my people to see it. So how do you address things like that?
I mean, I think the idea of putting the project together starts with a lot of research. So it is not made in a vacuum. So these are conversations you have had with people from the culture. A lot of times, the writer director will come from that specific culture as well. So they're drawing from personal experience or experience of people around them.
Yeah.
So it is not, I would say, a story is not made in a vacuum. Of course, there are nuances with certain things that I experienced, and a few people might get upset of something being portrayed in a certain way, and everyone has a very different experience of their own culture in a lot of ways. And typically when a filmmaker is making their film, it is their experience, or it is their vision of a particular experience. So the idea is to really present a filmmaker's perspective on a story that they believe needs to be told. And that's what a lot of the team is there to support.
Yeah. Is censorship something that concerns any of the films you made in a way that really bothered you and you felt you had to address it? Because sometimes what happened is an artist can be addressing a really sensitive issue back home, but make it in a global setting or have you on board, or cast and crew can be international. But when you want to release in a home country, there can be really major censorship issues. Is there something you can anticipate, or have you experienced either through the artist or through yourself in any way, a self-censorship because you really want to reach the audience? Have you ever come across something like that? Or
I mean, I personally haven't, because what's the point of making something if you are keeping that in mind? Like, you're not really telling the story you want to tell. Right. So I feel like an audience will find a way to your film, or you can find a way to get to your audience, be it in whichever form.
Yeah.
Nowadays, with digital technologies and internet, there's a lot of ways to present a film to an audience.
Right.
Ideally, every filmmaker's dream is to show it in the cinema,
Sure.
but there are other ways now to get a film to an audience. So I feel like very few filmmakers are actually self-censoring themselves. They're feeling a lot more empowered because of digital technology and being able to access an audience where they are,
Global,
which is, I think, kind of heartening.
Wonderful, wonderful. And last couple of quick questions. Do you find, can you tell us typical, I don't know if you've noticed or observed, because you've been so busy with your work and it's back to back, you've had a very tight slate, whether you notice the work of Indian producers and if you've observed some things that really they could be doing better or differently, which would actually make them much more productive or be able to access more global. Have you noticed any, well, it's like do's and don'ts. Do you have one or two tips that they could keep in mind, what to do and what not to do?
I mean, not really. Like, you're seeing Indian films at major global events and have been for a long time. So if someone is doing something right, so I mean, there's nothing I can say that that needs to be changed. I think everyone is doing a great job. There's a lot of great films coming out. Some of the best work is coming out of South Asia lately. If you see films from Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan, India, there's some amazing storytelling coming from the region.
And here in particular, we've got 17 films from India, South Asia, including the diaspora. So it's a very good year. So last quick question is, what are your future films? He's also teaching at NYU Tisch, teaching cinema. But also, what is your forthcoming slate or any projects in future? And what are you looking forward to after this?
I have a couple of American films, one with a writer-director named Lana Wilson and another one with a writer-director named Musa Saeed. So we are currently financing films and hoping to make them in the next few years and get them out to audiences.